While I was traveling, my dad had issues that the excavator that we have, an old one, had died on him. He had changed the fuel filter, and here is what the fuel filter he pulled out of the machine looked like. I can see an issue here and the reason why it didn't want to function anymore, so we were gonna do a bit of a rescue because it started as it was sitting but was powerless and didn't really want to function very well, so even if we had replaced that fuel filter. So we figured it was starving for fuel. The solution was to hook up a little bucket of fuel to feed it and get it running better with fresh fuel fed to the injectors, and get it to a better position where it would be easier to wrench on it. It did not really want to run super well. It wasn't running all cylinders here. I started looking at undoing injectors or the pipes feeding them, but it started running on more cylinders as I was getting close to it, so it idled well. Eventually started trying to go up the hill but realized it might be starving for fuel, so ended up swinging the machine around and having it the bucket we had added was downhill, so it had a better way of getting fuel, so I was reversing up the hill. Well, it was a little bit of slow moving, but my dad helped me to guide me and we got it to a better place. It wasn't that far into the forest, but we also decided to give it a little bit of fresh oil because it's been a couple of years since it's had any oil, and the oil filter is not an easy replacement, but it was possible to get a strap up there and a little pin to get some leverage and start undoing that oil filter. It was at least a little bit warm from getting it out, and then the fuel tank we wanted to drain to we're gonna replace at least the hoses feeding the engine, and it had quite a bit of fuel in it, so we had brought loads of jugs to fill up. We had that one-way valve on the end of the hose to start the siphon. With the fuel drained, we had left the bucket under the engine oil. We transferred that into other jug. It looks a little bit black, but and with the oil drained, we removed the oil filter. I was able to undo it, and I had my dad up above, and that's the only way to kind of bring the oil filter out, is bring it up higher. Put the plug back in place for now, because we have to revisit this later on. Had to do some work with the car, an old Skoda. I had the glow plug indicator for some reason starting to blink all the time when running it, and some internet searched. It's normally because I also figured out I had lost all brake lights. It's a little contact down there by the brake lever, and also when I ordered that, I had ordered a new, because it's still, I had been in here before trying to get it locks itself. There are better guides for this online and on YouTube, but I ended up buying a brand new, the entire lock mechanism inside the door, for the driver's side at least. And after some struggling and some help from my dad, I was able to pull it out and put it back in. I ended up messing up with the lock itself. I didn't get that fully seated, and I ended up pulling this apart again a few days later at work while waiting for some things I could use the garage at work. So, well, back to the excavator. New oil filter, we primed that with fresh oil, and it could be bolted in place. I took the plug off because I had bought some new copper washers for it, and tightened the plug up. As far as the hoses for the fuel here, it used to be, we have had issues in the past on this one. It used to be a pump here that didn't function, and it was also mounted in the wrong way, so that caused us a lot of headache last time we had fuel issues, because the arrows on it, we ended up actually feeding the injectors or the high pressure pump with the return fuel, so it was running for a little bit and then it died on us. But this time around I'm quite confident where to put fuel and where it should go. So we removed that pipe, because it was a pipe feeding it up, and we're gonna replace it with a hose, I think. I also pulled the drain on the tank itself a little further. It was leaning a little towards this direction, so we decided to drain as much as possible. And also transferring that to a jug. After some purchases with some hoses and stuff, we have had some more snow, so it needed a little cleaning off the snow. We had the diesel heater started to start warming things up. I had one of those inspection cameras I could connect to my phone and look in there. It doesn't look all that bad. Thought it would be more dirt in there. Put a new little rubber grommet in the hole where the pipe used to go up, and I had changed out. I had gotten hold of a pannier fitting with a hose connection, and then feeding the hose up and cutting that length and feeding it to a new big fuel filter. My dad had also made a bracket here, you can see, so the fuel filter is hanging. I think it used to have a second filter here, a coarse filter at the top mount. You can see that's not used anymore, and they just added an inline filter instead, and we keep using that. Some fuel and on we go. And then filling up the fuel tank some to start bleeding the fuel system and getting the machine running. Here it was a little bit of a misunderstanding. I wanted the toolkit underneath to get an angle on the barrel, but I didn't want to keep holding it. I had my dad underneath on the manual pump with the filter, not the fine filter, not mounted yet, and with that section of the fuel system bled, it was about starting to crank it. I had cranked open a few of the pipes to the injectors to start bleeding this high pressure part of the fuel system. and it required a bit of cranking, but not that badly, and it started running on a couple of cylinders at least. And once you had a couple of them running, it was just a matter of going all the way through the rest of them, and eventually it was running on all 6 cylinders. Sorry for the upside down video here, it had dropped on me the camera, but eventually I noticed, and by the time it was running on all cylinders, it was just a matter of tightening up the pipes to the injectors. I don't think this machine will have much work this winter. It might have to go up to the sand pit and be able to scrape out some sand for fighting slippery roads later on.